All right, good morning, folks. Happy Wednesday. Quick sound check. All right, we are good to go. So, little pressure in the futures this morning. NQ down 1.5, S&P's down about 1%. The almighty RUT down 0.7, and the Dow down about a quarter. And we had ASML earnings last night, and ASML's down a cool 7-8%, gapping down to 980, all the way down yonder. The theme of the week has been rotation. Where is my board? Right, rotation into what? All right, Dow Jones, IWM, gold, XLY, healthcare, financials, biotech, silver, and then we've got the Mag 7, XLK, SMH. They're down here at the bottom of the rankings. 26 out of 60, 25 out of 60. While again, gold, XLY, XLV, financials, they've all got the perfect score. The rotation has been so hard. It's done a really good job helping the S&Ps here keep the ship afloat. When we're getting selling in the big boys, right? Amazon, Meta, Netflix, Nvidia. When we're getting selling in the big dogs, if they can rotate hard enough, they can boost the S&Ps higher. Right? So they've done a good job of that. Here is the issue. They've rotated so hard that the IWM is 7.5% above the daily 21. And from an average true range perspective, we're about 5.5 ATR above that daily mean. I was talking to Sam this morning. According to his sources, the move on the IWM yesterday was the most overbought reading for any index ever. If that's true, think about that. Of all the years the market's been open, yesterday was the most overbought reading. So the question is, can they continue rotating? Small caps are 8% above our 21. You've got a Dow Jones 3.5 to 4% above the 21. Financials are 4% above. You've got Goldman, beautiful moving Goldman, 6.5% above the buy zone. And BAC is about 7.5% above the buy zone. So that is the $1 million question. Can they keep the push going at, what are pretty overbought readings? That's keeping it modest. On the other hand, the other end here, if you look at the QQQ futures, right, they're buying small caps, they're buying the Dow, the banks, healthcare, and they're selling what? Mag 7, right? They're selling big tech, they're selling the semis. The question for the Qs here, is this just a pullback to the buy zone in a really strong uptrend? Or could it turn into a little bit more? We have a score of 10 out of 12. Right? Pretty damn bullish. And so far, they hold that big level. All right, so 20... Call it 20,200. Really, really important level here for the NQ. That level breaks, right, then I think there's room for a bigger flush. If they're going to hold it here and turn the corner, this is pretty much the process. Right? Step 1, hold it above the mean. And then step 2, see all the nasty sell signals here? 4 hour, 2 hour, 1 hour, 30 minute, 15 minute. They've got to hold it above the 21. Then they've got to cancel out all the sell signals. All right, stabilize it. Get rid of all the sell signals. If they can do that, then if we're getting a 15 minute, 30 minute, 1 hour buy signal, that might be the next spot here to buy tech. So from that regard, today calls for, I think, a lot of patience. They might take it a little lower for a smooch of the 21. They might even break the 21. Think a bit more about Friday. Come Friday, is the NQ below the 21 with nothing but sell signals? Or come Friday, is NQ above the 21? And they're doing a pretty good job here of cleaning up the lower time frames. So very important spot. And then jumping back to ASML here, down about 7-8%. So out the gate this morning, this should put some pressure on a lot of your semi names. SMH here set the gap down to about 264, which would be a break of R21. NVIDIA gapping down to about 121-ish. Again, a break of R21. Broadcom gapping down to about 163, 164. And then we've got some SMCI here. For SMCI, NVIDIA, Broadcom, AMD, etc. I think it all comes down to TSM earnings tomorrow morning. TSM gaps up to 250 tomorrow. It's a little bit of an exaggeration. TSM gaps up in a big fashion tomorrow. Should be good for NVIDIA, AMD, Broadcom, SMCI, these semis as a whole. TSM gaps down to 150. Then it's the opposite. Shouldn't be the best thing for NVIDIA, AMD, and the SMCIs of the world. So if you've got an AMD, and NVIDIA, and SMCI, I'd look at it very much like an earnings trade. Look a little bit outside the setup in the particular stock. I think a lot of it comes down to TSM. So whether you're long NVIDIA or you've got AMD, if you do hold that into tomorrow, I look at it like an earnings trade. Should be impacted for better or for worse by TSM here. So if you've got that 950, 1000 debit spread on SMCI with me, up and down towards the daily 50, I'm looking at that like an earnings trade from a risk perspective. We'll see what they can do here today. It's a matter of tomorrow morning. So accept the risk on the trade, and if you don't want to hold it through TSM, you got to cut that bad boy today. But we got the debit spread on that one, and then we've got some calls here on Marvell. Marvell going to gap down a bit also. What I think might happen here today, technically the daily squeeze fired yesterday. I think a pretty good chance on the gap down. It might go back into a daily squeeze, which means I still think it's a great setup. White dot squeeze on the weekly. Really solid 2-day squeeze. If they take it back into daily compression, price holds above that 21. It's something I'd probably want to look to buy a bit more of. But it won't be a Marvell thing. It'll be an NQ kind of deal. And with all that being said, guys, think a bit more day trade. Might make your life a little easier. Good example is, all right, they're rotating into the bank stocks. So maybe rather than a monthly or a daily squeeze, or a weekly or a daily squeeze, let me go find a JP Morgan on, the 4-hour here and the 2-hour. Buy the calls, catch a push. You can make that a day trade. We took a little base hit off of JP yesterday. If they want to keep on rotating, they rotate into the banks, healthcare, IWM, and they're doing that for another 1, 2, 3 weeks. Most of your 15, 30-minute, 1-hour, 2-hour squeezes, they should continue to fire in the direction of the trend. Day trade it and be a little careful here on the swing side. And then watch ENQ today. The temptation for a lot of folks will be to get short, which, again, that might work beautifully. That will be the temptation for a lot of retail. Gapping down 1.5. There's a little blood in the streets. I think until it breaks, you've got to respect that daily mean. Where I think it's a much easier short, unless we're shorting it all the way up here. I think it becomes an easier short for a swing trade if you let them break that 21 and then try to short it on the bounce. 21 breaks, they bounce it. They can't break it back above the mean on the bounce. Then there might be room for a bit of a trend lower. So my game plan for today is a whole lot of nothing, really. It's not the sport, not the spot where I want to short tech. Could short it on a bounce, but not this close to the buy zone. And then for my open trades here, again, we sold JP Morgan yesterday. And SMCI, it's going to be all about tomorrow. So if you don't want to assume the risk there, I would watch your daily 50. The 845, 850 level, if you were looking to add to it, which would be a little brave here, the 850, 845 level, you have the daily 50 and the hourly 200. I think TSM matters a lot more, but if there is a spot of support here, it would be 850-ish. And then for Marvell, if that goes back into a daily squeeze, I would want to look for a spot to buy a little more. Market willing. Last thing here, then we'll do some chart requests. Again, what's kept the S&Ps nice and strong last 3, 4, 5 days? Rotation into the laggards. You've got tech over here. And then you've got the semis, right? You've got leadership, Mag 7. And then you've got the banks, industrials, healthcare, Dow Jones, financials. And then stuck in the middle is the S&Ps. So they are selling these two. And they're buying the crap out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 different spots. They keep rotating it, that can keep the ship afloat. We get any weakness in these rotation spots, small caps pull back a bit, Dow Jones comes in a little, the banks sell off. At that point in time, really important, they take that cash and rotate back into Mag 7. Second semis go down, everything else goes up, S&Ps keep grinding higher. If they sell these rotation ideas, sell the banks, sell Dow, etc., at that point, what can take the S&Ps higher? Well, at that point, if they're not rotating back into NQ, SMH, sets the market up for a bigger pullback. So all things to be mindful of. And you even got the rut down about 1% this morning. But the thing is so overbought. It could be down 4 or 5% this morning. Daily chart would still be pretty solid. But all right, folks, any questions, anything you want to take a peek at, put it in the chats here. And then, yeah, practice your patience here today. Big index at a big spot. Leadership may be going to look a little soft at the open. Does anything step up to the plate, or is it a situation where they're all getting whacked? Groovy Jeff, TTD and T-Mobile. What I'm trying to say is my stock picks and your stock picks, right, respectfully, at this moment in time, they probably don't matter. Right, given the things we just discussed. Won't be a TTD thing, won't be a T-Mobile thing, won't be a JP Morgan thing. Very much a QQQ versus IWM thing. TTD here. Gapping down to about 98. What I think we'll see at the open is a good handful of things gapping below their daily 21. Seems to be the theme. 2-day squeeze looks great, so it's a matter of your horizon. What's your time frame? Are you looking for a move into next Friday, and your options expire next Friday, or are you looking for a move 30, 40 days down the road? If you're basing the trade off of the 30-minute squeeze, for example, that's pretty much dead in the water at the open. If you're basing it off of the 2-day squeeze, that's going to be pretty solid above 97. So matter of time frame on that one. Nicholas, my game plan for SMCI, And as always, do as you see fit for your own account. But my game plan is to accept a max loss and hold it through TSM earnings tomorrow. I would like to buy a little more at 850, but I'm not going to buy more before tomorrow. But 845, 850ish, as far as, is it a valid idea? That's pretty much a line in the sand here. But if they hold it today, TSM gaps down 10% tomorrow, then I think all of the semis are getting it on the chin. And then T-Mobile's got a great setup. Brand new white dot on the daily squeeze and brand new white dot on the 4-hour squeeze. It's got a great setup, but does it get the market's blessing? NQ down 1, the RUT down 1, S&P's down 1. None of that means that T-Mobile can't break out and go up all by itself. But the futures being down 1% doesn't make it any easier. So stock versus market. I like the setup though. I've got to like it. Groovy Jeff, how do you take max loss on a butterfly? You just hold it until expiration. If it expires out the money, it'll expire worthless. So no assignment, just a zero. And yeah, Claudia, I'll definitely keep y'all posted. All right, folks on the YouTubes, good morning, Terry. Rusty of the Yucatan. What's up, Rusty? Yeah, Bitcoin making a move this week. Down a little bit this morning. But yeah, not a bad bounce at all. So Coinbase. Really, really nice move here for Coin. We have a daily, a 2-day, a 3-day, and a weekly squeeze. It's not so much an idea for today. It's a little bit more of a setup in progress. What I'm watching here, though, is the weekly squeeze. I don't have the official buy signal yet, but the blue arrow is pretty much the first heads up. I've got compression from the weekly squeeze, so we're building up the energy. The trend is bullish. The structure is bullish. On my momentum histogram, if they can pull it back through zero, then I've got everything I'm looking for. So at that point, I'll get the buy signal. At that point, I'll get the white dot. And at that point, I would play that weekly squeeze for a move towards $300. Again, I don't have the signal just yet, but I'm looking for it. And Starbucks. Starbucks looks more like a short. Sell signal, a score of -10. Yeah, I would think as long as Starbucks is below the 50 and the 21, it would remain an easier short. And Mauricio, Amazon. Yeah, where's Amazon going to open? Amazon to 191-ish. The thing here for Amazon is the weekly squeeze is perfect. But it'll be perfect most likely, down to 182, 183. It could pull back another $5 or $10 and potentially still have a really solid weekly squeeze. In the shorter term, I think it all comes down to NQ. Won't be an Amazon thing, won't be a Google thing. I think very much does the NQ hold support here at that 21. If they do and they cancel the sell signals, they rip it, they turn the corner, they rip it back here towards the highs. Good for Microsoft, good for Meta, good for all the big boys. But the spot for Amazon would be the weekly 21. Or the daily 21 rather. $1.93. $1.93. Lulu for a short. Lulu. Yeah, Lulu looks more like a short as well. Score of -10, below the 21, below the 50. Yeah, I think any bounces under 300, you look to short them. And then Kurt's got some Coca-Cola. Three-day squeeze looks really good. But they have earnings on the 23rd, so that might be cutting it a little close as far as giving a 2-day squeeze enough time to fire. Good setup, though. Wesker, for Marvell, we got to see how it looks when it opens here today. Weekly chart should still be perfect. And what I think might happen is it might go back into a daily squeeze. The squeeze did fire yesterday, but I think it might go back into compression on the gap down this morning. So if they gap it down and they hold our 21, and they take it back into a daily squeeze, I would look to want to buy more. But I would need a big fat thumbs up from the NQ to think about buying more. But that one I'm going to be a little patient on. And then on SMCI, I'm probably going to hold that through TSM earnings tomorrow, which means I'm accepting the max potential loss. well, F. Yeah, Ariel, if it can hold a 21 EMA, then I think it remains a nice setup. Perfect weekly squeeze, really solid 2-day squeeze. They take it back into a daily squeeze and they keep it above the buy zone. I'd still have to like it. But more importantly, if this bad boy just breaks, then Marvell and everything else probably doesn't work. Right? If you can hold up here, cancel the sell signals, get some buy signals, turn the corner and rip it, then I think you look for rotation back into tech. Right, so I'm going to let y'all go here, but that's the $1 million question for the time being. Do they keep rotating into what they've been rotating into? Small caps, Dow Jones, banks, healthcare, or do they rotate back into Mag 7? They don't do either. Then the S&Ps here have room for a much, much bigger drop. All right, so for those of you in my room, I will keep you posted. For those of you here in Essentials, I'll see you back on Monday.